Joining us now is the executive director and the founder of Ellis House, a nonprofit serving homeless and runaway women in Detroit, and one of nearly 300 shared Detroit-supported charities and nonprofits. Deb Ellinger joins us now on the Michigan MegaCast. Deb, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tyler, so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, can you tell us about Ellis House and the history of your organization?
Yeah, so Ellis House, we're actually celebrating our 5th anniversary this year. So we began about 5 years ago. We are a street outreach team. So we go on the east side of Detroit over at Harper and Connor, Chalmers and 7 Mile area. And we serve women who are being trafficked. So we provide clothing, hygiene, food, pretty much any supplies that they need. We'll provide transportation. They can call me and I'll get them to doctor's appointments, things like that. Then we also have a residential program where you can live in our housing program for up to 2 years, and we're going to provide all your mental health. We're going to provide you with vocational opportunities, educational opportunities. The end goal being that you become self-sufficient, you have a job, and you're in your own permanent housing, and you give back to our organization. So you come back and mentor other women that are trying to get their life back on track. And then we also do education and awareness. So we go into schools if we're asked or invited, community organizations, just to get the awareness out about what trafficking really looks like.
So you go out to these specific locations in Detroit and communicate with these women and get them into your program. Are there other ways that these women also come to your program and get the help that they need?
Yeah, so sometimes we get calls from local hospitals. Social workers will call me and ask if we have availability, or if I'd be willing to come out and speak with a woman that they believe is a survivor of trafficking. We've also gotten residents from different law enforcement agencies that have been able to interact with women who are looking to get help. And so we've been able to help those women as well.
And so when did you make the decision? What prompted you to make the decision to find this organization? Where was that need presented to you that an organization like this is necessary and is a necessity, especially the women in Detroit in particular who are victims of human trafficking?
Yeah, so I just have such a passion for empowering women, first of all. I used to be a police officer, and for a period of my career, I worked in sex crimes. And so I learned about survivors of sexual abuse and trafficking, even though at that time period, we didn't really know a lot about trafficking. So that really motivated me to learn more, to get educated, and then go out and provide services, because I just think there's so many victims and not enough services that are being provided right now.
We're joined by Deb Ellinger, the founder and executive director of Ellis House, one of nearly 300 shared Detroit-supported charities and nonprofits on the Michigan MegaCast. And so you've interacted with so many that have been victims of human trafficking and your organization has saved so many of them from both the human trafficking itself and, of course, from the lingering effects that are certain to come with that experience for these women that go through your programs. For those out in the community that may want to help your organization, or even just for those that aren't aware of some of these signs, what are some of those telltale signs that somebody may be being human trafficked?
Yeah, so one big sign that I tell people a lot is, like, if you see a woman who is homeless and carrying around her possessions in a shopping bag, like a Target, Kroger shopping bag, and she's not dressed appropriate for the weather, I would start asking questions. That would seem like a very weird situation. Don't just assume it's somebody who is addicted and homeless, and there's usually some type of trafficking involved with women who do not have a home to reside in, and who are caught up in addiction. Those things are all huge factors involved. If you encounter somebody that can't speak for themselves, that's being controlled by somebody in what they say to you, if they can even interact with you. So somebody who's being controlled, someone who has the same clothes on for many, many days in a row and hasn't changed her clothes, I would think that's odd too. Somebody an older man and a younger girl, that's another warning sign as well.
And then for those who are on the streets, for those who are being trafficked, and they're not always on the streets, so sometimes they are just living out their regular lives like you and I, and it goes undetected. For those that are being trafficked and those who are in need, what are some ways that they can receive help from Ellis House?
Yeah, so they can always call me. I can give you the number I give everyone on the street. You can always call me anytime, 586-242 9280, and I can connect you with either our resources or somebody else's resources. There's also a national human trafficking hotline. I encourage anyone that sees anything that looks like trafficking to contact that number, and that number is 888-373-7888. You can call that number. You can remain anonymous. You don't have to have a whole lot of information. If you see something, you pass by something at a rest stop, you saw something that looked odd, but you don't have a lot of information, you can call that in and report that. And it's actually crucial that you do that. This is one way that we're getting our statistics in order to be able to provide better services.
And then when those in need do get in contact with you, either through your organization, going to the grassroots, going out to the streets of Detroit and finding some of these women, or by them coming forward to you directly or through other people, what then is the process of getting them the help that they need? And then on top of that, it's one thing to get the help that you need. It's another thing to prevent what's often a dangerous situation from re-arising in their lives. How does that work with your organization?
Yeah, so we really feel like if we get you into our program and you stay for a couple months, like that's a success to us, because that's like planting the seed. Going back to your trafficker is very common. Most survivors will do it up to 7 times before they actually can work an entire program. The only requirement needed to come to our program is to be 30 days clean of any drugs or alcohol. So we require our residents to go through a drug detox program for 30 days. And then at that time, you would be ready to come to our program.
We're joined by Deb Ellinger, the founder and executive director of Ellis House, one of nearly 300 shared Detroit-supported charities and nonprofits with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, ellishouse313.org. That's ELLIS house313.org. You can also call them if you believe that you have encountered somebody who is a victim of human trafficking, or you yourself are being trafficked and are in need of support. 586-242-9280. That's 586-242-9280. Or we highly encourage you also to call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. Again, the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888. We're joined by Deb Ellinger, the founder and executive director of Ellis House on the Michigan Megacast. And Deb, as a leader of this organization, as someone with a wealth of knowledge on human trafficking, particularly in the Detroit area, and as a former law enforcement officer yourself, there was a news story last week about a father in Warren who was convicted of selling a teenage homeless girl repeatedly for sex. The story had a lot more gratuitous and graphic details, frankly, to it. But the judge in that case only sentenced this man to 10 years in prison. That's the mandatory minimum set by Congress. What are your thoughts on this small prison sentence for this man, based on information you may know about the case, based on what you know about what human trafficking does to women of all ages, but especially to someone that's just a teenage girl?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that sentence is ridiculous. 10 years is not long enough time. So something needs to be changed. There's lots of gaps in our system that I could talk about forever, and laws that need to change. If we're really going to go after people who buy sex, that's what we should be doing. We should be going after people who are pulling up in their cars and purchasing a woman on the street or purchasing someone online for the mere purpose of sexual enjoyment. And until we attack that, until we attack the demand of it, nothing else is going to change. It's ridiculous that we can exchange a person's body for anything and get 10 years in prison, and that seems sufficient. I don't know. I just don't know where our world has become a point where we think that's acceptable. Until we find that not acceptable, until we find strip clubs not acceptable, until we find pornography not acceptable, these things, trafficking will just increase, and the age will actually get younger and younger.
We're joined by Deb Ellinger, the founder and executive director of Ellis House, with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, ellishouse313.org, ELLIS house313.org, ellishouse.org. So people can find you online on your website. They can, of course, call your number if they know of someone, or if they themselves are in need of support. What are some other ways that would be at this time important for the community to be able to provide support to your organization and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, we also have like an Amazon wish list. So we really operate strictly on donations. So all our supplies that go to our residents in our program and on our street outreach that our teams use is all donated by either organizations or by people. And so we have a list of items on there that you can look. They get shipped directly to various locations, and then they get loaded up and they go out and we give them out. And just to give you an idea of like how many people we serve, we go out 4 days a week and we give out anywhere between 40 and 50 lunches and hygienes each time we go out. So we're always packaging up snack packs to go out, hygiene kits to go out, socks, leggings, anything that we would normally, like you and I would wear, we would pass out on the streets.
The website is ellishouse313.org. Deb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. I really appreciate it.